Hey guys, today I just wanted to cover how to replace or clean your air filter in an APR Carbonio intake. You need a couple simple tools. You need a ratchet, a T25 bit, and a 5/16 socket. Doesn't take very long. I didn't find anything else out there on the internet, on YouTube, so I figured I'd make a video for myself to share with other Volkswagen owners. So the first thing you need to do is locate these two clamps right here, and using your 5/16 socket or flathead screwdriver, just go ahead and loosen those off. It shouldn't take too much to get these loose. If it's really hard, they were probably tightened too much, so just be careful the next time you do it. Once you get them loose, you can use your fingers to loosen them off even further, and you can just slide the clamps down the Carbonio intake. Once you have those off, you can go ahead and move this rubber piece right here. My engine's still pretty warm, so it's pretty easy to get off, and then you can just let that sit there. The next thing you'll want to do is locate the two T25 hex bolts that are located at the front of the intake. There's one on each side. So just take your extension on your ratchet with your T25 and find the two bolts and loosen them off. And then once you have those off, you should be able to easily remove the intake. And from here, we can open this up. I can already hear a lot of dirt inside, so it's gonna be pretty exciting to see what's in here. Once we get the intake off, you can just slide these clasps off just so they don't get lost or damage the carbon fiber. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, you will need a T10 hex to get these three bolts off, which will give us access to the filter. So like I mentioned, just gonna take my T10 hex and open this up. These are not very tight. They just need enough to keep it clamped down, so it won't take much to open these up. So I can already see a lot of dirt coming out just by holding it up that way. And then yeah, you can kind of shimmy the filter out. As you can see, it is quite dirty. It seems like I've gotten all the rocks out of it. So we'll just leave that there. And what I'm gonna do is just recharge this using the K&N filter recharge. Once you have your filter off, you can then go ahead and loosen off this clamp here using your 5/16 socket. Yeah, as you can see, there is a lot of dirt. That's about 2 years worth of dirt, a few insects, flies, spiders, pretty gross. So I'm hoping the performance of my car will improve quite a bit once this is cleaned out. So yeah, just go ahead and pretty much loosen this clamp right off, and you should be able to spin it off. And there you go, that's the rest of the housing. And this is actually not a K&N filter. This was supplied through an APR dealer that I believe comes with the kit. It was the replacement filter from APR. So I'm still going to use the K&N filter recharge, even though they say you're only supposed to use it for K&N filters, but this is a very similar system. It is able to be recharged according to APR, so that's what I'm going to do. According to K&N's instructions, you're going to want to spray this air filter cleaner onto the filter first, and that's going to loosen up a lot of the dirt, a lot of the disgusting things that are in here. And then once this is sprayed, you're going to want to rinse it with water. It does say that you may need to reapply a few times to get all the dirt out, depending on how dirty the filter is. And then once it's clean, we can apply the oil that helps trap a lot of that dirt. So here we go. I'm just going to use cold water and see how it works. So you can start from the inside or the outside. Because mine is relatively caked in a lot of dust and debris, I'm going to go on the outside and try and clear some of this off. But you don't want to use high pressure, so I have it just on the full mode, not the jet mode, and actually it's surprisingly working really well on getting a lot of the debris out of there already. So you can see by the color of the water how much dirt is actually in there. I've been across British Columbia, Alberta, and parts of Ontario with this car, with this filter. So there's dirt from all over Canada in here. So once you've washed most of the dirt out of the outside, you can go ahead and wash the inside. I'm going to go ahead and spray another coating of the air filter spray. And I'm going to let that sit for another 10 minutes. So it's been about 10 minutes, and I'm just going to go ahead and rinse it all over again. There's still a decent amount of dirt trapped in here. I might need to grab like a toothbrush, but you can see the color of the water coming out. I don't know if that's the chemical or the dirt, but still pretty dirty. So I'm just gonna let this sit overnight with a fan blowing onto it. I do need to dry my car tomorrow, so hopefully this does dry up. So I've let this dry overnight with a fan blowing on it. I've actually driven my car today, so I actually applied the filter oil this morning. I'm just gonna apply one more coat to show you guys, as well as just make sure it's fully saturated within the filter, and then we'll get this mounted back in. So using the K&N air filter oil, I'm just gonna apply another coating. Like I said, I applied it this morning, so it's pretty saturated. I'm just gonna do one more coat. But when you do this for your filter, you're gonna wanna apply a few coats with about 5 to 10 minute break in between each one of them to let it fully soak into the filter. So that's gonna be my final coat there. So once you have your filter fully oiled, we're just gonna put the filter back into the housing, line up the holes, and screw in the 3 T10 hex screws that come with the kit. So once you have the housing reassembled, we can go ahead and put it in. I find it's easier to get it in a position at the front of the filter housing, and then you can go ahead and squeeze the intake tube onto the filter housing just like that, and just make sure there's plenty of room covering up the intake pipe as well as the APR housing, so you don't have any leakage. And you can go ahead and tighten these clamps up. And once those are tight, you just have the 2 T25 screws to reassemble, and that's it. And that's it, guys. Pretty simple job. It took me full 24 hours to get it done, just because I did have to let the filter dry overnight. But yeah, if you have just a filter replacement to do, it should take roughly around 30 minutes to do the deinstall and reinstall. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe if this helped you at all. Thanks.